August 12, 1840, near present-day Lockhart, Texas. The sweltering Texas sun beat down mercilessly upon the land, baking the ground until it cracked and leaving the tall prairie grass brittle underfoot. A dry wind swept through the landscape, carrying with it the acrid scent of charred wood and faint traces of blood, a haunting reminder of the destruction wrought just days earlier. It was here, amidst the unforgiving terrain of Plum Creek, that two vastly different worlds would clash, in a defining moment of frontier history. Among the captives of the Comanche raiders was Nancy Dust Crosby, a woman whose life, already marked by the perils of frontier living, had been shattered in ways unimaginable to most. Born into a family whose lineage included the legendary Daniel Boone, Nancy embodied the resilience and adventurous spirit of early pioneers. Yet no amount of fortitude could have prepared her for the horrors she endured in the summer of 1840. Captured alongside her infant son during a brutal Comanche raid on the coastal settlements of South Texas, Nancy's life became a harrowing journey of survival and sorrow. Her husband had been killed during the initial attack, and her son, an innocent infant, whose cries could have betrayed the Comanche's location, was silenced forever by a ruthless blade. Though grief threatened to consume her, Nancy endured, driven by an indomitable will to live. The Comanche raid that claimed Nancy Crosby was no ordinary act of aggression. It was a calculated campaign of retribution, born of deep-seated anger and fueled by a desire for justice or vengeance, depending on one's perspective. To fully grasp the significance of what transpired at Plum Creek, one must delve into the events leading up to that fateful day, the motivations of the Comanche, and the complex web of alliances and enmities that defined the Texas frontier. The preludes to vengeance, the Council House fight, the seeds of the Great Raid of 1840, were sown months earlier, in an incident that would come to be known as the Council House fight. By the early 19th century, the Comanche had established themselves as one of the most formidable Native American tribes in the region, their dominance stemming from their unmatched skills as horsemen and warriors. However, the encroachment of settlers onto their lands had sparked a series of violent confrontations, each escalating the cycle of mistrust and bloodshed. In early 1840, Texan officials sought to negotiate peace with the Comanche, proposing a meeting in San Antonio where representatives from both sides could discuss terms. The Comanche, weary from years of conflict, yet unwilling to concede their sovereignty, agreed to the meeting and arrived with a small group of emissaries. Among the captives they brought as a gesture of goodwill was Matilda Lockhart, a young girl whose physical condition shocked and enraged the Texan officials. Matilda's body bore the unmistakable signs of severe abuse. Her face was disfigured, her nose mutilated, and her skin marred by burns and bruises. When questioned, she revealed that she was not the only captive held by the Comanche, and that many others remained in dire conditions. The Texans, incensed by her testimony, demanded the immediate release of all captives. When the Comanche emissaries explained that they could not fulfill such a demand, on the spot the Texans attempted to detain them, sparking a violent altercation. The Council House fight ended with the deaths of several Comanche leaders and the capture of others. For the Comanche, this incident was more than a diplomatic failure. It was a betrayal of trust and an affront to their honor. In the months that followed, their anger simmered, culminating in a decision to strike back with devastating force. Buffalo Hump and the vision of retribution. The leader of the Panateca Comanche at this time was Buffalo Hump, a chief known not only for his prowess in battle, but also for his spiritual vision. Buffalo Hump understood that the events of the Council House fight demanded a response that would send an unequivocal message to the settlers. The Comanche would not be cowed. According to oral tradition, Buffalo Hump received a prophetic dream that guided his course of action. In his vision, he saw settlers driven into the Gulf of Mexico, their blood staining the waters as a tide of vengeance swept over the land. Inspired by this vision, he rallied his warriors, their families and even allies from neighboring tribes, for what would become the largest raid in Comanche history. This was not a simple act of retribution, it was a meticulously planned campaign. One that sought to punish the settlers for their perceived treachery, and to reclaim the dignity and power of the Comanche people. The scale of the raid was unprecedented, involving hundreds of warriors and their families. Together they moved southward, their path marked by destruction and terror. The Great Raid of 1840, a trail of fire and blood. The Great Raid began in earnest during the summer of 1840, as the Comanche descended upon the settlements of South Texas with unrelenting ferocity. Entire towns were reduced to ashes, homes were looted, livestock stolen, and crops burned. Those who attempted to resist were killed, their bodies left as grim warnings to others. Even those who fled found little refuge. The coastal plains offered no hiding places, and the relentless pace of the Comanche advance left few opportunities for escape. The raiders' spoils were staggering. Thousands of horses and cattle were taken, along with wagon loads of supplies. Among their captives were women and children, their fates uncertain but undoubtedly grim. For the Comanche, these captives were both trophies of war and potential bargaining chips in future negotiations. As the raiders turned northward, retracing their steps toward the safety of the hill country, they faced an unforeseen challenge. The sheer volume of their spoils, combined with the presence of non-combatants, slowed their progress, leaving them vulnerable to pursuit. It was a tactical oversight that would prove costly. The Texas Rangers in the pursuit. Word of the raid spread quickly, galvanizing the settlers and their fledgling militia forces. Among these were the Texas Rangers, a group of rugged frontiersmen renowned for their skills in tracking and combat. Led by figures such as Ben and Henry McCulloch, Bigfoot Wallace and Jack Hayes, the Rangers were determined to intercept the Comanche and recover what had been taken. Their efforts were bolstered by the a tribe with deep enmity toward the Comanche. The Tonkawa, led by their chief Plum, brought in valuable expertise in tracking and a shared desire to see the Comanche thwarted. This alliance between the Rangers and the Tonkawa underscored the complex interplay of Native American tribal dynamics, where historical rivalries often influenced allegiances. As the Texan forces pursued the raiders, they followed a trail of destruction that left little doubt about the Comanche's path. Smoke from burning settlements rose on the horizon, guiding the Rangers toward their quarry. Along the way they encountered survivors, harrowing reminders of the raid's brutality, and recovered stolen goods abandoned by the raiders. In their haste, the pursuit culminated at Plum Creek, a tributary of the San Marcos River, where the Comanche were forced to make a stand. The standoff in battle on August 12, 1840. The Texan forces, now numbering around 200 men, converged on Plum Creek. Felix Houston, a militia commander, took charge of the operation. However, his initial caution, born out of respect for the Comanche's reputation as formidable warriors, drew criticism from the more aggressive Rangers. As tensions mounted, reinforcements trickled in, bolstering the Texans' resolve. The Comanche, their columns stretched over miles, presented a daunting sight. Warriors clad in a mix of traditional attire and looted settler garments rode in defiant displays, taunting their pursuers. Some wore elaborate buffalo horn headdresses or wolfskins, while others sported incongruous items, such as top hats and lace dresses, a macabre testament to the raid's spoils. The battle began when a Comanche chief, leading a daring charge, was killed by Texan gunfire. His death shook the Comanche ranks, creating an opening that Ben McCulloch and the Rangers seized upon. Charging into the fray, they unleashed a ferocious assault that sent the Comanche into a chaotic retreat. What followed was a brutal pursuit, stretching over 15 miles of open prairie. The Texans, mounted and well-armed, hunted the fleeing Comanche with relentless determination. For the raiders, the retreat became a desperate struggle for survival. Many warriors fell, their bodies left behind. As their comrades sought to escape, Nancy Crosby and the human cost. Amidst the chaos of battle, the captives endured unimaginable suffering. Nancy Crosby, her spirit battered but unbroken, clung to a fragile hope of survival. Tragically, her ordeal came to an end when she was discovered tied to a tree, her body pierced by arrows, a grim reminder of the human toll of frontier warfare. Nancy's death, along with those of countless others, highlighted the stark reality of the conflict. For all the talk of honor and vengeance, the true cost of the frontier wars was borne by individuals, settlers and Native Americans alike, whose lives were forever altered or extinguished by the violence. The Battle of Plum Creek marked a turning point in the Texas frontier wars. Although the Texans claimed victory, the Comanche remained a potent force, continuing to resist the encroachment of settlers. For years to come, Buffalo Hump, undeterred by the setback, would go on to lead his people in future campaigns, his vision of Comanche sovereignty unshaken. For the Texans, the battle was both a triumph and a sobering reminder of the challenges of frontier life. The Rangers' heroics solidified their reputation as defenders of the settlement, while the scars of the raid lingered in the collective memory of South Texas. Today, the events of 1840 are remembered, not just as a tale of conflict, but as a complex chapter in the history of cultural collision and survival. The Battle of Plum Creek stands as a testament to the resilience of those who lived and died on the frontier. Their stories, etched into the land they fought to claim or defend,